to advise the public on ways of being vigilant to prevent this particular crime. And they're asking the public to embrace preventive measures to avoid falling victim to SIM card swap fraud. We're going to get a little bit into that discussion right now. Joining me in studio is Fredrick Wahome, who's the Vice Chair of the Kenya Cybersecurity and Forensics Association. Wahome, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for finding time to join us today.
Yeah.
For anyone who may not have followed up sort of with the news and what's happening, how would you, in a simple definition as possible, define SIM card swap fraud?
Well, thank you for hosting me. And SIM swap by itself is not a crime. When you lose a phone, you report to the police, and then you also report to the service provider, maybe to block your SIM card so that you can acquire a new one. But when there is aspect of crime, that is when it qualifies for a SIM card fraud. So what happens is that most of these criminals, there's like two phases. The first phase is looking for your information, private information. Kenyans have this behavior of when you walk to, let's say, like cyber cafe, hotels, the first thing they request is for a free Wi-Fi. You don't know whether you are connected to a real Wi-Fi or a rogue maybe access point. And at that point, someone may be harvesting your private information. People go to cyber cafe. After you are done with browsing, you do not log off most of the machines. Then someone just come. Maybe there are keyloggers in those machines, and they harvest your private information.
Keyloggers are what? Is a software that can...
It is a malicious software
that can capture your data.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it captures your cell phone number, your emails, and all that. And that is called private identifiable information. PII. Information that can be able to link you or identify you, like your ID, your cell phone number, which is a private information. Then, after that, they build your profile. They also collude in most of organizations like the banks, the service providers, to provide more information that identifies you. Then from there, they'll now target, like in most of the banks, they have something called one-time password, whereby for any transaction that you do, there's an SMS or a code that is SMSed into your phone. So what happens? If they have built your profile, they are now going to like social engineer you, so that they can now succeed with swapping your SIM. And how does it happen? Probably they will call you, like pretending they are calling from the service provider, and you are going to be tricked to provide more information, after which they also collude with most of, let's say, agents of the service providers, so that they now make that SIM swap happen. And you may not even notice. Your phone may go off like for a few seconds, and already a transaction has already happened, and you are not going to receive the code. But when you report later, let's say like after a minute or 2 minutes, the service provider will start maybe issue a ticket so that they can assist you. That ticket can take even a day to be sorted out, and you've already lost your money. And also the challenge that we have as a country is that we lack the framework for prosecution. So most of these guys, when they do these stuffs, in most cases they know very well that our prosecution lacks that capacity to be able to investigate most of these things. So you become frustrated and you just give up on these things. On
this particular matter.
Yes.
Wow. And of course, for those of you who are watching, if this has ever happened to you, if you suspect it's happened, or if you have any questions to our guests here in studio, 22422 once again is the SMS line, and use the hashtag #CitizenExtra, even as we endeavor to understand more about this. Now, this is not a new phenomenon from what we are finding out. It's now that it's really coming to light, but it's been happening for quite some time. You actually have had a similar experience, haven't you?
I've lost money, and most of my friends have also lost money in a similar way. And the challenge that we have is that most of organizations like banks, they have already upped their games in terms of protecting the infrastructure, the technology, and all that. So the risk has now shifted to the end user, because many users, they are not even aware of the risk. Every person right now, they have a smartphone, but they don't know that this is a full computer. You have linked your banking information, your private information, very private and confidential, and you don't know, like you download apps, and you don't know the source of these apps. Probably these apps have malicious codes that are just spying and giving out your information. Another good example that we have, when you walk to most of these buildings, there is a book that you usually sign. You give out your name, you give out your ID, you even give out your signature.
That's right.
How do we know? Where do this book goes after they are filled up? Are they left, or are they under custodian of the security firm, or under the custodian of the owners of the building, or whoever is managing the building? So these are the questions that we need to ask, because Kenyans requires to be aware of such risk. And another issue, at least there's something that is happening. We already have a Cybercrime Act, although it was like few processes were suspended. We expect that when it's fully implemented, Kenyans are going to be protected. Another one is a data protection bill that is already at the Senate. It was out, I think, this week, and we gave out the public participation on our own views. And we feel that with proper legal framework, and especially for the data protection, Kenyans will at least be comfortable somehow. Because some of these things, when they are done, let's say like the agents, the lack of proper legal structure and framework, it makes whoever do these stuffs just go away.
Because they can get away scot-free.
Exactly, they can do that.
How did your experience happen in particular? Without giving us too many specifics.
Exactly. So I think I had shared my phone on some certain platform. Of course, they harvested the emails and all that. Then I experienced my phone was just ringing without anyone talking on the other end for about 3 times.
So someone calls you, you pick.
They don't talk.
They don't talk.
Then I received about 100 bob on my M-Pesa. So without knowing, the phone went like offline for about a minute. Then later, I was unable to access the network services. That is when I reported to the service provider. They gave me, like, they opened a ticket that they are assisting me. Then it took almost 3 days for the issue to be sorted out, although I never got my cash back.
So you got your number back, you were able to sort of resume normal service, but your money...
Yeah, the money was not going to...
My goodness. Yeah. So should I stop picking calls from people I don't know?
That should not be the case, but I believe that when you link most of these, let's say your banking account to the number...
Which is what practically everybody has done.
Yeah, what happens is that at least you should have, like, it's allowed to have more than one line. So you can register a separate line that it's only maybe you that and few people knows, such that even if they harvested the information, they cannot really get that number. Also, when you sign up with these banks, most of the banks now, they are upping their games in what we call multi-factor authentication. So this is going a step ahead. Apart from delivering a code to your phone through SMS, they will also require an extra layer of security. Probably they will maybe ask for you to confirm the date of birth or something that it's only you that knows. Also, when you sign up with the banks, some of the banks provides the option of you signing up with the SMS delivery when there's a transaction, as well as delivering the same on your email. So in case any transaction happens, you are going to get an SMS and immediately you are going to get an email. So how often do people like check on their emails? Another one is
to how exactly
how often do you go through your bank statements? Like for instance, someone can take even a week. So if a anomaly happens, it's very hard for you to pick up that
this actually happened.
Exactly.
That is very scary. What other sort of scams do you think Kenyans should be aware of, both on the internet, whether you're using the internet on your sort of computer, on your phone as well? Generally, what should Kenyans be aware of in the kind of era we live in? And especially as we saw Facebook were put to task quite a bit about whether they allowed certain third-party developers to embed programs within Facebook that could harvest people's data.
So in most cases, the biggest risk that we have is phishing. The same way we have like looking for fish.
And phishing is not, it's not spelled F-I, right?
It is PH.
Yeah?
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Go ahead.
So what happens is that someone just is out there looking for your information. And what they do, like when you go to social media, there are apps that have been developed. Apps that look nice, like click here to see how you look like in 20 years, you know. And when you click, maybe using your phone, you have no idea that a malicious software has already been installed. That software will start harvesting your information and selling it out without your consent and without even your information. Another thing is that when you go to cyber cafes, most of these cyber cafes, some of them that we have gone through, they may be having like keylogger software is running. Another thing is that when you go to those cyber cafes, always make sure that you log out all your accounts.
Okay.
Because when you leave it, there are some people who just hang around there waiting for you to finish up your business.
Okay.
Then they come into a machine, get your browser history, and then your information is gone, and you don't know.
I guess one of the questions then should be, what sort of precautions should one take in an office setup where everybody comes with their laptop but joins a particular network, vis-a-vis what sort of precautions should one take in the cyber cafe setup where the machine is not yours, it belongs to somebody else?
So in a company environment, most organizations have already taken some precautions.
Okay.
In terms of technology, that is.
Okay.
There are issues like data loss prevention. There's another one like bring your own device. So what happens, they will have like security measures against any risk that can come through act of bringing your own phone and even your own computer. Because you don't know, if you come with your own phone, you access the company resources. Where do you go after that? You may go to coffee shop, you log into their Wi-Fi, and someone accesses your phone, and the same phone, you use it in the company environment. You're already endangering the organization.
Yes, that's right.
When it comes to now the publicly accessible network and technology, like in a cyber cafe environment, first, most of our cyber cafe, they lack awareness and capacity. And as an association, we are doing our best to train and talk to these people, because they're supposed, like, it's possible to disable the issue of browser history, such that when someone logs out of the machine will not record any information.
Okay.
And also now from the user perspective, remember the information belongs to you. The government, the private organization, they cannot like prevent or protect you from any such of those risks. How much do you care about your information? Like when you go to a supermarket, they ask for your number around, you know? Then someone is just there recording your number, and you don't know what they're going to do with that number. You pay for your fuels using your mobile phone number. Like you shop using your, at the point of sales and all that. So there are so many. One
gets the feeling that the easier life has gotten because of these conveniences.
Exactly,
the more dangerous it is.
You don't even carry hard cash anymore. So that is the challenge now, and the risk is that the criminal have now shifted their focus to the end user. But what we need is a lot of awareness and being able to know that these are the risks that can affect me. Don't click anyhowly on social media, on links that you are not even sure what you are doing.
What should, and I don't know how to, okay, let me try and see how to ask this question.
Yes.
What should I be on the lookout for that could give me an indication that something isn't right, either on my phone, on my computer, or even in terms of the phone calls that I'm getting? What are some of the things that should raise an alarm in your view?
So one thing that shows that either you have been compromised probably is like in your phone environment, the phone may start acting slow. It means that already there are malicious softwares running there. They are the one that are like occupying the processor. So the other legitimate apps and services are not getting the ample processor time. And for you to prevent this, you need an anti-malware. There are free anti-malwares that you can be able to install. I would not like endorse, but there's an example of Malwarebyte, which is very good in scanning your phone, making sure that all apps that are running there are legitimate. Remember nowadays,
I should actually, like, after this interview, check my phone and just make sure I know every app on my phone.
Exactly, you understand, and you also understand what it's doing on the background. Remember, it's also possible for, let's say, like banking apps. Someone can be able to download that app from their website or from Google Play. Then they reverse engineer that app and they put stuffs, they put their own code in that app. And then they upload the same app to other app hosting companies and all that. And when you search that, if the app is well optimized, you are going to download the malicious app, and you don't know that actually you are using the malicious app. So what happens when you are logging into the banking and all that? Actually, they are capturing your information. For also on a computer environment, you may be receiving a lot of spams. It shows that your email is out there in the public. And what happens is that also do you use antiviruses? How updated are they? Also, just clicking anyhow on any links There are those websites that you can subscribe to, which will definitely, in most of the time, alert you, most of this phishing and all that, so that you can forward a link to verify whether it's a fish link or that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm getting some interesting SMSs here. I might not go into specifics because some of them are personal details, but someone is saying they lost 50,000. When they went to the customer care of a particular telco, they were not helped. Another one says they lost 8,000 via a bank. They say the bank called them, they gave them their details, but up to now, no refund. So what are the rights of the end user in this particular situation? What should I do if I believe I have been scammed, either via a telco, either via a bank? Does the law protect me? And I know you've said the Cybersecurity Act would have been sort of a stronger measure, but right now, today, what are my options?
So the right procedure when you are a victim of these things is you go to the police, let's say even CID or police station, and you report this. So this falls under cybercrime, and we have the cybercrime unit and Kiabu Road. The challenge that we have is someone in Samburu County. They should report to the police station.
My goodness.
But is the police station do they have capacity to like investigate this? Because when you report there, they may like report now to the headquarters. So that is one thing that we need. The cybercrime unit at least need to be devolved at that local level where Mwananchi can be able to report and all that. Also, when you report to the service providers, they will definitely tell you to, like, if there's a criminal case, they'll tell you to, like, deal with law enforcement. Another one is that the current data protection bill, it empowers the end user such that their rights are protected. Your information cannot just be dished out, you know. There's a service provider who launched a service, and I found myself already subscribed without my consent.
My goodness.
I did not even request them, like they did not even like call me or SMS me like we are going to subscribe you to our service. We just received so many SMSs. So with that data protection bill in place and having such framework, the end user is very well protected. Because right now, people become so frustrated. You report to the service provider, they open a ticket, yeah? You report through Twitter, they say respond after like a day. They give you a ticket number, you have already lost money. And most of these things, the faster the response, the better, because you have already lost money. When you go to the bank doesn't admit liability. They'll say that no, this thing was done through the service provider. Then you are forced to go to the police, and you know about how maybe our police
might not be able to even help you with that. So sort of a back and forth.
Exactly.
What would be your challenge today to telcos? What would be a challenge to banks? You've challenged the end user. You've told the end user, be careful. In this situation, you might find yourself on your own. But what's your challenge to those in the financial sector?
So first, for the service providers, most of them operate through agency network. How well do they conduct due diligence before recruiting most of these guys? Because you recruit, let's say, these agents, but you really don't know about them. So what they are going to do, they create those criminal gang and networks. And like in the case of a SIM swap, you can just walk to an agent, you give him some cash, and the line is swapped. So for the service providers, they need like to have a very good structure when they are inducting and getting their agents and networks. Come to the banks, they need to up their games. Apart from the one-time password, which is what is sent to your phone anytime that you do a transaction in your account, they need to add at least another extra layer of security. So
where you have a situation where you have 50,000 agents as a telco, you have to monitor and follow up the activities of all of them, including the agent in Garissa, the agent in Lamu.
The same way a provider has, let's say, 1 million customers, and they have their information and they know each and every customer. The same way, if you recruit, let's say, 50,000 agents, you must be having capacity to manage them. If you don't manage them, then it shows you have failed. Because at the end of the day, the end users are going to suffer for nothing.
For nothing.
And they have nowhere to go for recourse.
To show you how serious this has become, the Communications Authority has actually come out with a strongly worded statement. Let me see a couple of things. They kind of explained how this happened. And this was in a statement signed by the Director General, Francis Wangusi. So let's take a look at some of their recommendations, and I want to get your views on this. For the first recommendation is be cautious. Do not respond to calls or emails asking for personal identifiable information. Anyone who will call you to ask you for your mobile money PIN, your ID number, your bank account PIN, your password, your date of birth, unless you are sure of the person you're corresponding with, always verify the authenticity of the person through the official customer care contacts of the service provider. You want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The other day, someone called me from my bank, okay, purporting to be calling from my bank. They said that the current PIN is 4 digits, you know, and they are upgrading to 5 digits. So this person tells me, I just need to know, like, you are the first 3 PIN, the numbers, and then we are going to generate the secret one for the 5th.
Sounds very...
I asked them very specific questions, and they just hung up. So one thing is that at all times, always make sure that your third eye is on when you receive most of these calls.
Okay.
Most of the banks, they like have official numbers if they are calling you. And most of these organizations, they have upped their game, that they are relating with customers through social media platforms. It's very hard for a bank to call you and start telling you that your account, look this and that. It's very hard for most of these
They would not do that unless you have made an inquiry.
And also, anyone who is like calling you and insisting for some information within very short time, know that you are in for a setup.
Actually, that's one of the other recommendations here. Slow down. Fraudsters want you to act first and think later.
Yeah.
If the request conveys a sense of urgency or they use high-pressure tactics, be skeptical. Never let urgency influence your view.
Exactly.
And I think that's what you're saying.
Actually, you may disconnect and tell them, just call me later. If they insist, they'll let you know that that is a fraudster.
Okay.
Yeah.
A fraudster would probably not call you the next day.
They'll not, because they know that you have known them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of the other recommendations: delete any request for financial information or a password. If you get asked to respond to a request with personal information, it's a scam. Also, your PIN is your secret. Never divulge any of your PINs to anyone, not even the mobile money service or agent. How would an agent get to the point where they are now asking you for your PIN?
So it also comes down to integrity and matter of ethics. How well, like, do you know, like, those when they are recruiting most of these agents, they'll definitely know that if you don't have that integrity. And the issue of deleting, for instance, if you get access to, let's say, like, your personal email, the first thing that someone does is to search for anything to do with banks, you know, bank account, passwords. And when I do the search on the email, it's going to give me any email that you have ever received that has a password in it, that has a bank in it. So the best thing to do is that when most of these banks, like organizations, sends you login details and information, the best thing to do is to delete that information.
Okay.
And maybe either memorize or have something that you can be able to remember.
And all hard copy sort of information, bank statements, once you're done with them, tear them apart.
Exactly, just shred that information. Because when you are doing most of the security assessment, you usually even go to the dustbins, looking for passwords and all that. People just put these stickers on their desks. So when you just come pretending that we are just greeting you, and we get most of these passwords.
Well, you'd have to be very naive to put your password just very openly. Some of the other recommendations are: reject requests for help or offers of help. Legitimate companies and organizations do not contact you to provide help. If you do not specifically request assistance from the sender, consider any offer to help a scam. So now let's see the possibility of another scam. At the moment, Kenyans are terrified about this whole SIM swap fraud incident. What would stop a fraudster from calling someone and saying, your line is in danger of being swapped? Do XYZ and we'll protect your line? Because, I mean, I think fraudsters are always thinking and always innovating.
What we are seeing is that the challenge is that most of this fraud has been happening for a very long time. And now that it has come to open and Kenyans are freely discussing about it, probably what we'll see is that it may reduce a bit, but they are going now to up their games, because they know that the other side is going to up their game. Remember, in security, the problem is you must be 100% right as an organization, as a bank, service provider, organizations. But me, if I am coming to compromise you, I just need to be 1% right. So they work day and night to get this 1%
That's 1%.
Right.
That's all they need to be able to access your system.
Yeah, the bank may even do firewalls, they protect all that, but they just forget, and that is what, when they forget on something, one thing, then you are done.
You're done. Okay, this is what a couple of SMSs. Someone is saying they want a fraudster exposed. They say someone was about to rob them of 45,000. I think what's amazing is there are so many messages here.
Yes.
Another person is saying, I'm really scared. I think a mattress account is the safest. And I've seen somebody, that's the second time I've seen that message. Someone's asking a question. Is it true that your phone number can be registered? Can be registered twice. That is, somebody is in use of it at the same time as you.
No, it is not possible for that to happen. But what happens is the other one must be deactivated.
For another one to be activated.
Yes, and what happens in most cases, if the agents collude with the organization, the insiders, those people working in those organizations, for you to access the M-Pesa PIN, you need the start key to be able to reset the password and PIN. So what they do, if they are provided with the start key, now these criminals, then they are going to swipe your SIM card, as well as they are also going to offload your M-Pesa. Because they have the start key, they can be able to reset your password.
The start key allows you to reset the password of M-Pesa and
exactly.
whatever amount
so
you
they'll
have.
have access to your bank account. And
how
also
will they access your bank account? Because there's also a password needed for your bank account
exactly.
through your phone.
So what happens, as we said, there are phases. The first phase is to harvest for information. Like now, if you go to most of these coffee shops, most people are there, like the internet is very fast.
Yes.
And what will happen is that you don't know whoever is intercepting. Intercepting your information as you browse, as you go to social media, as you go to online banking. Also, when you go to cyber cafe, you leave your information there. You also don't know whoever is monitoring whatever you are doing. You leave your personal information. Remember, if I have your number and your email, or even just your email, I can just go online and profile you 100%. Then from there, in most cases, if there are some rogue elements in the banking or in the organizations, they are now going to harvest account information inside. They will know that this account has this amount of money, and they are going even to, let's say, do keyloggers and all that. And that is how they are going to harvest the passwords and the PIN for the account. So with that, the only thing that is preventing them from receiving the money is the one-time password. Because any activity on the account, the owner is going to be notified through an SMS. And this is why they now focus on the SIM swap. So when they swap your SIM card,
SMS will come to
you are not going to get that notification.
Unbelievable. Okay, we have a tweet as well. This is what some of you has to say. We are now filing a lot of data in cyber cafes, KRA returns, NTSA, passports, etc. Are we really safe?
Unfortunately, in most cases, the responsibility of the owner of the cyber cafes is not to secure information.
Wow.
It's to provide internet. The internet is there, that's fine. Anything to do with protecting that information, it's your responsibility.
Okay.
How much are you responsible, like, to know that I can lose this information? And remember, there's something called advanced persistent threat. What that means is that I will take Waihiga as my target, then I'm going to profile him in the social media, banking and all that. And it can even take up to 3 years. You don't know that I already compromised you at one point. Then it will reach a point whereby I'll now start using that information to blackmail you. And many Kenyans, they have already lost control of their passwords and their emails and all that, and they don't know. So these guys will just wait up to when maybe you are doing a transfer. They intercept that email, modify the bank account, and the money is transferred to another account.
Clearing browser history, for example, how much does that help?
That would help fast.
In a place like a cyber cafe, for example.
So when you get to a cyber cafe, it's possible or it's advisable to know, like, to see what process or services are running in that machine. And it's very basic. Right, click on the taskbar, check the task manager. Most of those keyloggers, you'll see the name keylogger or something. Just stop. The other one is you yourself, after you are done with the browsing, go to the options, depending on the browser that you are using. Click on the options, go to browser history, then delete everything.
But you have the option, if you have the option of taking your own machine to a cyber,
you can take your
you're a bit safer
there.
off with that.
At least you are better at some point.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, let me take one last round of SMSs here. Okay, we have some on screen. Okay, this is what you... Okay, we'll take a look at another one. You don't give us your name, but you say, a fraudster can nowadays call your number and you by name. How do they access it?
How do they access this information? Walk into a building, they have a booklet there. Put your name, email, or let's say the phone number, the ID, the signature, period. How well do you know those who are guarding that gate? The security companies, how do you know? And the problem is most of the physical security companies, they may lack that collaboration and partnership with providers of the cyber security. And these two specific organizations, they need to work together such that their officers who are managing or manning the gate should be able responsible to manage the information they have on the booklets.
Okay.
Yes. So that is how the information is harvested.
All right. Let me get one last one. This one is rather out there. Tom from Kisumu is asking, kindly ask your guest about these emails of people claiming to be orphans in Senegal. They have lost their parents in war. They have 220,000 US dollars. And they want to send the money to you in Kenya so that you share it with them 50-50. This one I think can help answer, but then they ask you for your details.
Yeah, so it comes to the same point.
That's one of the oldest tricks in the book.
Give out your email on the internet. Maybe you're registered somewhere, you are looking for something. Then that is how they harvest your emails. Okay. These are professional scammers. So what they do is that they said they automate the process of sending. They may send it to 1 million people. Even if they get 0.05 response, they are good to go. The next thing is that they are going to tell you, can you confirm your details and all that? Then most of Kenyans, when they see like $10 million, definitely they are going to fall for it. But always make sure that you verify. Yeah.
One last one. Someone here, you don't give us your name. Is there a way to arrest these criminals? What would you charge them with? Okay, first of all, how do you catch a scammer? Yeah, like you wouldn't find them with something, in a sense, physical. Like if someone stole something, you find it on their premises.
The challenge that we have at the moment is they usually use anonymous emails. Like, let's say they may register Gmail or a Yahoo account. At the moment, there's a challenge because when you are like conducting a forensic investigation on such an email, you need to get something called originating IP. That is the source IP address where that person was seated when they were sending that email. So what happens is that most of these providers like Google and Yahoo, they hide the original IP address. So when you are trying to catch this person, you have now to involve the law enforcement. The other thing is that most of our law enforcement, they have not been empowered and the capacity and all that. Okay. So it becomes a challenge when you are trying to catch most of this. But if they use a company email, like at citizen.co.ke, it's now possible because you are going to contact the domain provider, the registrar, to provide more information. And also at this Communications Authority, we are members of the KESAT, which basically is mandated to responding to most of these risk and whatever on Kenyans. Okay. It's possible, and they are currently they have the capacity to be able to investigate most of these things. You just need to know how are you going to report. Go to their website. They have a form. Fill the information. Fill the risk and where you lost the information. Then submit to them. And also as an association, you can go to our Facebook page, Twitter, inbox us, and we are also going to take it up from there. We can also take it up from there. If someone has a question that they can't ask here at Fredrick Wahome on Twitter? Yeah. Okay. Wahome Fred, that is the Twitter. Wahome Fred on Twitter. Or you can follow KCSFA, that is on Twitter as well. Okay. That is for the association. Should they need more details? Yes. Fredrick Wahome, thank you so much. This is the Vice Chair, Kenya Cybersecurity and Forensics Association. The questions are still coming in. Clearly showing this is a topic that we cannot exhaust today, but thank you for engaging with us. We take a short break. You're watching Citizen Extra. Stay with us.